The creepiest cold cases that still haunt investigators. Cold cases have a way of capturing the public's imagination, leaving behind a legacy of unanswered questions, dead-end leads, and lingering fear. These cases, unresolved for years or even decades, often involve heinous crimes, murder, disappearance, or mysterious death that continue to baffle law enforcement despite exhaustive investigations. Here are some of the creepiest cold cases that still haunt investigators to this day. 1. The Zodiac Killer. Perhaps the most infamous unsolved serial killer case in American history, the Zodiac Killer terrorized Northern California in the late 1960s and early 1970s. The killer claimed to have murdered at least 37 people, though investigators were only able to definitively link him to 5 deaths. What makes the Zodiac Killer particularly creepy is the way he toyed with law enforcement and the public, sending cryptic letters and ciphers to newspapers. One of his most famous ciphers, the 340 cipher, remained unsolved for over 50 years until a team of amateur codebreakers cracked it in 2020. The decoded message did little to reveal the killer's identity, however, maintaining the mystery surrounding his real name. The Zodiac's signature taunt, signing his letters with a symbol resembling a crosshair, and his chilling indifference toward his victims have left a scar on American crime history. Despite numerous suspects over the years, the Zodiac's identity remains unknown, and investigators continue to grapple with the mystery of who this cold, calculating killer really was. 2. The disappearance of Maura Murray. On February 9, 2004, 21-year-old Maura Murray vanished after crashing her car on a rural road in Haverhill, New Hampshire. A nursing student from the University of Massachusetts, Maura's disappearance has been shrouded in mystery, with very few concrete leads. What's particularly eerie about this case is the conflicting accounts of her behavior in the days leading up to her disappearance. Maura emailed professors explaining she would be missing from class due to a family emergency, though her family denied any such event occurred. After her car accident, witnesses saw her standing outside the vehicle, apparently unhurt, but by the time police arrived, Maura had vanished. Despite numerous search efforts, no solid evidence of Maura's whereabouts has been found. Theories range from her running away to foul play, but the truth remains elusive. This cold case continues to frustrate investigators and intrigue internet sleuths, adding to its unsettling nature. 3. The Black Dahlia Murder. The brutal murder of Elizabeth Short, known posthumously as the Black Dahlia, has baffled investigators since 1947. Short's body was found in a Los Angeles park, horrifically mutilated and cut in half at the waist. The brutality of the crime shocked the nation and has continued to fascinate true crime enthusiasts. Over the years, dozens of people have come forward to confess to the crime, but none of the confessions have led to a conviction. The police investigated numerous suspects, including doctors, actors, and even police officers, but the case eventually grew cold. Short's life has been the subject of extensive media attention, with many speculating about her involvement in Hollywood's dark underbelly. The murder remains one of Los Angeles' most famous unsolved crimes, forever shrouded in mystery. 4. The JonBenet Ramsey Case. The murder of 6-year-old JonBenet Ramsey in 1996 continues to haunt Boulder, Colorado, and much of the country. JonBenet, a child beauty queen, was found dead in her family's basement the day after Christmas. She had been strangled and suffered a severe blow to the head, though the exact sequence of events remains unclear. What makes this case particularly chilling is the web of conflicting evidence and suspects. Initially, suspicion fell on her parents and brother, with some experts theorizing that her death was the result of an accidental killing covered up by the family. Others believe an intruder was responsible, but no clear signs of forced entry were ever found. The baffling ransom note written inside the Ramsey home and the poor handling of the crime scene by the police added to the complexity of the investigation. Despite years of investigation and media scrutiny, JonBenét's killer has never been identified, and the case remains open. 5. The Axeman of New Orleans. From 1918 to 1919, a terrifying figure known as the Axeman of New Orleans murdered 6 people and severely injured 6 others. The killer would break into the homes of Italian immigrants and Italian Americans and attack them with an axe, usually targeting families. What made the Axeman's spree especially unnerving was his letter to the local newspaper, in which he promised not to kill anyone playing jazz music on a specific night. That night, jazz filled the streets of New Orleans as terrified citizens took the Axeman's threat seriously. Although the murders ceased, the identity of the Axeman remains unknown. His gruesome attacks and bizarre behavior have made him one of history's most feared and enigmatic serial killers. 6. The Tamam Shud case. The mysterious death of a man known only as the Somerton Man continues to confound Australian investigators. On December 1, 1948, an unidentified man was found dead on Somerton Beach near Adelaide. He carried no identification, and all labels had been removed from his clothing. A small scrap of paper found in his pocket bore the words Tamam Shud, Persian for finished or ended, torn from a book of poetry called the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. In a strange twist, the corresponding copy of the book was later found, with a secret code scribbled in the back. Despite multiple efforts to decode the message and identify the man, the mystery persists. Who was the Somerton Man, and why did he die under such bizarre circumstances? The case remains one of Australia's most baffling cold cases. 7. The Boy in the Box. In February 1957, the body of a young boy was discovered inside a cardboard box in a wooded area of Philadelphia. Dubbed the Boy in the Box, the child was estimated to be between 4 and 6 years old. He had been severely beaten and malnourished, leading authorities to believe he had suffered long-term abuse. Despite a thorough investigation, police were unable to identify the boy or his killer. Over the years, numerous theories have been proposed, including that the boy was sold by his family or part of an illegal adoption ring. In 2019, investigators tried to use modern forensic techniques, such as genetic genealogy, to identify the boy, but as of now, his identity and the circumstances of his death remain unknown. 8. The murder of Sister Kathy Kesnick. The 1969 murder of Sister Kathy Kesnick, a Baltimore nun, was the subject of the Netflix documentary series The Keepers. Sister Kathy disappeared on November 7, 1969, and her body was discovered 2 months later in a remote area. She had been bludgeoned to death. Sister Kathy's murder became tied to a much larger scandal involving sexual abuse within the Catholic Church. Several former students at the school where Sister Kathy taught came forward to say they had been abused by priests and that Sister Kathy had likely known about it. Many believe her murder was an attempt to silence her. Despite these disturbing allegations, no one has been charged with Sister Kathy's murder, and the case remains open. The combination of religious scandal and the brutal killing of a beloved figure makes this one of the most haunting unsolved cases. 9. The Villisca Axe Murders. In 1912, the quiet town of Villisca, Iowa, was rocked by the gruesome murders of 8 people. 2 adults and 6 children, who were bludgeoned to death in their beds with an axe. The victims were members of the Moore family and 2 visiting children. The crime scene was horrific, with every victim suffering severe head trauma. Several suspects were investigated, including a traveling preacher and a local businessman, but no one was ever convicted. What adds to the horror of this case is that the killer, or killers, appeared to have lingered in the house, covering the mirrors and making bizarre ritualistic gestures, such as leaving a plate of food on the kitchen table. Despite numerous theories over the years, the identity of the Villisca Axe murderer remains unknown, and the crime continues to haunt the town. 10. The Delphi Murders. One of the more recent cold cases, The Delphi murders of 2017 involved the brutal killings of two young girls, Liberty German and Abigail Williams, in Delphi, Indiana. The girls went missing after going for a hike on a local trail, and their bodies were discovered the next day. What makes this case particularly eerie is the evidence left behind. Liberty managed to capture video and audio of the suspected killer on her phone just before they were murdered. Despite this chilling clue, the case remains unsolved. Investigators have released the video and audio clips, hoping the public might help identify the man, but no arrests have been made. The case continues to grip the small community of Delphi and true crime followers alike. Conclusion: these cold cases remain unresolved, leaving families and investigators haunted by the lack of closure. Despite technological advances, breakthroughs in forensic science, and the relentless work of law,